Iran is marking 40 days since Ali Khamenei's burial with memorial events across the country, keeping alive the state's portrayal of the former leader as a martyr and symbol of national resistance. Tehran, Qom, and Mashhad are preparing to honor Iran's martyred leader. The three cities formed the core of Khamenei's funeral journey before his burial at Mashhad's Imam Reza shrine. Mojtaba Khamenei is set to lead tributes to his father, 40 days after the funeral and burial. His role carries particular political weight as Iran seeks to project continuity in its leadership and defiance toward its enemies. Iran remembers Ali Khamenei with memorials planned across its three key religious and political cities, Tehran, Qom, and Mashhad. Iran says Khamenei's legacy lives on as it holds 40-day commemorations. The events are expected to reinforce Tehran's themes of resistance, unity, and continued support for regional allies. From Tehran to Mashhad, Iran is paying tribute to Khamenei and members of his family who were also remembered during the funeral ceremonies. Ceremonies are set for Tehran on Tuesday, Qom on Wednesday and Mashhad on Thursday, culminating at the Imam Reza shrine where Khamenei was laid to rest. Iran's Supreme Leader's office has announced the memorials amid ongoing calls for revenge over Khamenei's killing, a message Tehran continues to link to its wider confrontation with the United States and Israel. An Iranian lawmaker has called for Gulf rulers who host US bases to be added to Tehran's list of revenge targets. The MP accused the ruling families of Bahrain, the UAE, and Saudi Arabia of playing a role in the war against Iran. Amir Hossein Sabaiti says Gulf rulers played a role in Ali Khamenei's killing, according to Iran International. Sabaiti specifically named Bahrain's Al Khalifa, the UAE's Al Noyan, and Saudi Arabia's Al Saud ruling families. The MP questioned why Iranian officials apologized to Arab states on the fifth day of the war, as Tehran attempted to ease regional anger over strikes targeting US facilities. The comments signal continuing pressure from Iranian hardliners for a tougher response against Arab leaders who maintain US military ties. Washington's Gulf allies are reportedly growing frustrated with Trump's handling of Iran, as continuing attacks deepen fears that US diplomacy is not delivering lasting security. Saudi Arabia, the UAE, Qatar, Kuwait, and Bahrain are now united in their anger, according to the Washington Post, despite differing interests and long-standing rivalries inside the Gulf. Gulf leaders reportedly fear Trump cannot manage the diplomacy needed to secure peace with Iran, particularly while the region remains exposed to missile, drone, and proxy attacks. The concern follows Trump's repeated threats against Iran that were later withdrawn, often after Washington cited progress in negotiations that did not end regional violence. Washington also pointed to movement in talks, even as Iran and its allied groups continued launching attacks that kept Gulf states on edge. Gulf states' anger at Washington is reportedly now at its highest level since February, when Iranian retaliation began bringing the wider conflict directly to their territory. The frustration is now raising questions over America's military footprint in the Gulf, despite decades of US security guarantees, bases, and defense cooperation. Some Middle Eastern nations are debating the value of hosting large US bases, according to the Washington Post, if those facilities make them targets without ensuring protection. Qatar and Bahrain host major US bases while relying on Washington for their security, making their concerns especially significant for America's regional military posture. The Gulf also remains heavily dependent on American weapons, intelligence, and munitions, meaning regional governments have limited options for quickly replacing the US security role. Saudi Arabia's new defense pact with Turkey and Pakistan may signal a bigger strategic shift, as Riyadh looks to build security options beyond its traditional dependence on Washington. A senior European official called the new three-nation pact a signal to the US, suggesting Riyadh wants Washington to recognize growing doubts over its reliability. The official said the three states are now diversifying their security partnerships, combining Saudi resources, Turkish defense capabilities, and Pakistan's military experience. Analysts do not expect these moves to quickly displace America's regional security role, because the US still provides capabilities that new partnerships cannot easily match. But Gulf states are reportedly exploring alternatives as confidence in Washington weakens, using new partnerships to gain leverage and reduce strategic dependence. Gulf states wanted Trump to address Iran's ballistic missile arsenal, which remains a central threat to cities, oil infrastructure and military facilities across the region. They also wanted Washington to restrain Tehran-backed proxy forces, whose drones, missiles and attacks have repeatedly widened the conflict beyond Iran's borders. Gulf leaders sought a durable end to regional attacks, rather than temporary pauses that could collapse while Iran and its allies retain the ability to strike again. They wanted safe maritime traffic restored through the Strait of Hormuz, a vital route for global oil, gas, and commercial shipping disrupted by the crisis. Gulf governments also wanted a clear and consistent U.S. strategy, rather than shifting threats, paused military action, and uncertain diplomatic signals. Above all, they wanted Washington to prevent Gulf states from becoming targets, after the conflict exposed how quickly regional allies can be drawn into a U.S.-Iran confrontation. Amid the ongoing war, analysts say the United States is widening its military options across the Middle East as it prepares for the possibility of a longer and more unpredictable confrontation. Reports indicate that some U.S. Air Force personnel have been called up for duty, pointing to a possible increase in operational readiness across the wider region. The deployments appear to signal a potential regional military buildup, according to an Al Jazeera report, as Washington assesses its next steps in the conflict. Analyst Michael Stevens says the US-Iran conflict has reached a difficult deadlock, with neither side able to impose a decisive outcome on the other. He argues that neither the United States nor Iran is currently winning the war, making this prolonged stalemate increasingly costly and challenging for both sides. The United States cannot launch a ground invasion of Iran and realistically expect a clear, quick, or decisive military victory, the analyst added. The Strait of Hormuz remains at the very center of this wider confrontation, because control over the strategic waterway carries major military and economic consequences. Iran says the strait will remain closed until its conditions are met, while the United States continues to claim that it has complete control over the vital passage. However, Tehran has strongly rejected US claims that the Strait of Hormuz has reopened, insisting that the waterway remains blocked until Iran's demands are accepted. One analyst says Trump is searching for a way out of the war, but without publicly admitting that the current strategy has failed to deliver a decisive victory. Experts also say Washington has instructed several US embassies across the Middle East to reduce staff levels, reflecting growing concern over regional security risks. Analysts believe these preparations could indicate that a potential new attack may come in the weeks or months ahead, though the precise timing remains uncertain.
Upgrade your news experience with the all-new HT app. Download now.